I'm sure that you've heard that women are hypergamous before, but I'm also sure that you've never heard that men are hypogamous before. Now, if you have, let me know down in the comments, because I never even heard it before until my husband and I would always like fight anytime we were watching YouTube or social media and we started seeing that rhetoric again, that women are gold diggers, women are hypergamous, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, if women are hypergamous, then that means men are hypogamous, because I have a good understanding of Latin roots. And that just kind of broke us out of our fight. And my husband and I were both like, oh, wait, we should look into that because the Latin roots do make sense. So we went and looked it up. Now, hypergamy means you want to date, marry someone who is of higher wealth and status than you. Hypogamy means the opposite. That means men want to date women who have lower status than them, lower fame, less resources, less wealth than they do. So when you look at the dichotomy between hypergamy and hypogamy, things start to make a lot more sense. You can throw out the gold digger rhetoric because that's the worst of women. The worst of men are men who have power and abuse it. You're gonna see bad guys on both sides. It doesn't mean that the core mechanic is a bad thing. It doesn't mean that in general men or women are bad. It just means some people are kind of crap. And so today we're going to talk about what hypogamy is, why men are hypogamous, and why it's a good thing for relationships, but also why it doesn't really work with modern dating. In general, men are bigger, stronger, and about 10%, which isn't a lot, smarter than women. So men are the resource gatherers. Men retain the power. Men retain the wealth. And whenever there's been a war, there's been a fight, it was always men that would go to war and fight each other. And also, men don't have the horrible weakness of having to bear a child for 9 months and then really spend 2 years raising it until it can walk on its own. So in general, men retain power and wealth and status and resources and gained that power over women. Now, what does that mean in terms of romantic relationships, male-female relationships? Is that means men don't want those things from women. Men don't need those things from women. And in the contrary, women are a resource. Women are a resource for men. And when men want women, historically and even modern day, men are much more likely to want a harem of women than women are to want a harem of men. And that's because men view women as a resource. Women view men as the giver of resources. So when you see what men want out of women, you don't see things like power and wealth, because a man can always gain more power and wealth than a woman given the same equal playing field. And so what a man wants from a woman is beauty. Men like to look at women. Men love to look at women. And when a woman puts herself together and looks good for a man, she can get any man she wants. Men want fertility, which goes into the looks category. Men want to have children with women. Men want to have healthy offspring, just as women want healthy offspring with men. And they judge that by your looks. And men also want a good personality. And I think that's the one that gets understated out of the three, is that men want to be mothered, but men also want to have mothers for their children. So in order for that to all go well, is you have to have a good personality, right? That means you're nice, you're kind, you're generous, you can stand up for yourself when you need it. You can protect your children when you need to. There is a strength there that men like in women. Men don't always like completely passive women, although some men do like passive women. There's like a little variance there. Everybody's got preferences. But the most important things are, a man just wants a woman to take care of him. Man wants a woman to take care of her children. That's basically what it breaks down to. And so if a man can provide the wealth and resources, then his wife can take care of their children. If he can protect her during her 9 months of pregnancy, well, then she'll be able to have as many children as he can protect her while having. And so a man's, like, the way he can give to a relationship is limited when you're talking about children, because the man just has to be there to make sure that the kid can get to an adulthood, but he's not the one actually bearing the child and raising the child himself. Like, a man can't breastfeed the child, the man can't bear a child, and realistically you need both the man and the woman to make one. A man can't make one on his own. And like I said, with women can get in vitro, men can get a surrogate, but it's a lot longer of an investment for a man to hire a surrogate to have a child. And then realistically, he's not capable of like breastfeeding the child and raising the child on his own, especially if he's trying to acquire the resources to take care of the child. And you'll get to a point where there's enough money where you can, and you'll also get to the point where some guys will have the harem. Some guys will have multiple baby mamas. Now we look at Elon Musk, Nick Cannon, but you don't have to be super wealthy for that. I actually worked with a guy who had 5 baby mamas, and he was just super into that. He described all of the women he's dated as nasty, and he wasn't very wealthy. He was a garbage man, but guys can make it work, right? What does this guy want? What do the wealthy guys want? What do the poor guys want? They want women and children, right? They want the same things. And whether they have a lot of money, whether they don't have a lot of money, as long as they can provide what the women are wanting, it works. Now, why is that hypogamous? Why does that work? So when you look at a man who is very wealthy, well, he can get women who start at a higher wealth status, but he can also get all the women below that. Now, when you look at a guy who is like lower or maybe middle class, well, he can't get the women up at the top, but he can get women at his level or lower, and you will find a lot of women clustered at that bottom who don't have a man to hook onto. And so those women might be more likely to be the baby mama, might be more likely to get with a guy who's had other kids. And the hypogamous factor of that is, well, that's what men want, right? Men just want the woman and child. And so a man knows that a woman who has more resources doesn't need him, doesn't want him. She's gonna go for a better man than him. And so why that worked for society historically is when you had a situation where it took a whole day to wash laundry, it took, every single day you had to cook because you didn't have refrigeration. It took a woman in the house to raise your children, like really raise your children, because there was no daycare, there was no, village to raise the child, that kind of thing. Men had to find women who were willing to stick around. Men had to find women who were willing to put up with all that and to essentially provide the home front for them. And the best way to find that is to find a woman of lower status who will see your wealth and resources as like her ticket up. Like, okay, well, she sees you as able to better provide for her children than she could do on her own, or she could do without a man. Historically, women couldn't do it without a man because they had to be at home all day working and cooking and cleaning, and a man had to work all day. Men used to work much more than a 40-hour work week. And they used to have a craft or a trade where they'd work out all day. And so when they came home, they had to have a woman who would take care of everything. And just the best way that worked was for women to be hypergamous and want a man who made more money than her, could bring her status up, and for a man to be hypogamous and to go for the woman who wants a leg up in the world, and to go for the woman who maybe doesn't have a lot of money, but she's attractive and she's fertile and she wants to have children, right? That's what men want. That's what men need. Men aren't interested in women who have money and wealth and fame and power. And actually, it is my personal belief that men do not like intelligent women. Most men do not want to date an intelligent woman. And the more modern day women go to college, study, school, the smarter women become, or the more educated women become, I personally feel like the worse romantic relationships are going to get. I personally, yes, I see myself as intelligent. I've seen my IQ scores. I've talked to people in general, and I have been more attractive to men when I sit down, shut up, and listen than I am when I speak. I've been told I'm only cute until I open my mouth because I have opinions. I have very strong opinions. And not just that, but I can talk men in circles a lot of the time, and it's caused difficulty in having conversations, but also when I'm more intelligent than a man, it turns me off. Like, it really turns me off. Like, I definitely would not want to date a man that I saw as less intelligent than myself. I at least want a guy who is as intelligent as me or higher. So that goes both ways. So I think that's also another part of the hypogamy in men is I personally see it's very prevalent when it comes to my intelligence. Also, I have found that men who have a lot of debt, have job history issues, do feel intimidated by a woman who has her own job, has her own house, has her own business. Like, a successful woman does intimidate a man, but it's not the same as he's too intimidated to ask her out. It's that he feels like a lesser human being when it comes to providing resources in that way. So I do think it's important for men to have that leg up. It's important for a man to come into a relationship with the power, with the wealth, with the status when you're talking about a male-female relationship. And if a guy doesn't have that leg up, he's gonna be insecure. Maybe he's not gonna ask the girl out, or maybe he'll go on a few dates, but he'll feel insecure and the relationship won't go anywhere. Or maybe he'll try to make it work. Maybe the guy with the lower wealth, lower status will try to make it work with a woman who has a better job, and then they get married and have children, and all of a sudden she wants to take time off work, but she can't because they relied on her income. And there's a lot of situations like that. And then the only thing different would be the guys who want to be stay-at-home house husbands, which I don't know that I've ever met a stay-at-home house husband, but they're really not that common. I think the internet makes them look a lot more common than they are, and I do think that is not the natural state of a man. That's a more feminine man. That's a man that wants the woman to be hypogamous. That's the man who's hypergamous in that situation. And it does exist, but I don't think it's natural, and frankly, I don't think it really works for those relationships. From what I've seen online, I could pick those apart. So, in general, my own experience, observations of others, seeing the history of it all. Men are hypogamous, and that's a good thing, because women are hypergamous, and what men want out of a relationship is not wealth or status or money. Men want to provide that wealth and status and money, and they want to collect women like a resource, and women want to be collected like a resource, and that just works better for society. So if anybody ever tells you that women are hypergamous and that means women are gold diggers and blah blah, just tell them, well, no, men are hypogamous, and it's a dichotomy, it's a yin and yang. There's a balance there, and there's a reason why it works that way. It's because of what men want out of a relationship and what women want out of a relationship. And it worked for a very, very long time. The only reason it's not working now is because of the way modern society is. Like, comment, and subscribe. This is one of 4 videos, or I'll post the big long one at the end with all the topics together. Let me know what you thought. I'll see you next week.